down the volume should be fine now. entertain a motion to come back to open session.
So moved.
All right. Have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and Mr. Collins is joining us remotely. Under our ordinance and resolution, he can do that. Am I correct in that, Mr. Durbin?
Yes, that's
All
pursuant
right.
to the county's remote participation policy.
All right, and we do have a quorum, so we will continue, and I'll ask for your vote, Mr. Collins.
Yes.
All right. All right, I'll ask for each one of you to certify that we spoke only what we went into closed session to speak on. Whereas the Carroll County Board of Supervisors convened a closed session this day pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote, and on the motion to close the meeting in accordance with the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. Whereas section 2.2-3711 A1, A6, and A7 of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by the Board of Supervisors that such closed session was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the Carroll County Board of Supervisors hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempt from open meeting requirements under the Virginia Freedom of Information Act were heard, discussed, or considered in the closed session to which the certification applies, and only such business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed session was conveyed were heard, discussed, or considered in the meeting to which the certification applies. I'll start the certification with Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Mr.
I so
McCraw.
certify.
I so certify.
Mr. Early.
I so certify.
Mr. Dixon.
I so certify.
Mr. Hill.
I so certify.
And I so certify. At this time, I'd ask Mr. McCraw if he'd lead us in the invocation and pledge.
Everyone rise, please. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this opportunity to gather together today. And thank you for this beautiful day that you've provided. Lord, we ask you to watch over us and keep us safe. We ask you, Lord, to be with us as we go through this meeting. Help us conduct ourselves as we should conduct. And Lord, we ask you to bless those that are in need and bless those that are struggling. And Lord, in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, at this time, I'd grant the floor to Mr. McCraw for business recognition.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. When Tracy started doing this several years ago, we first done the ones a couple years ago. You think about the businesses in this community that have give back to the community and the things that they've done, and I felt like it was my responsibility to choose a long-term, family-owned business to recognize this month. And I thought about that a lot, and I asked Bonnie Hyatt, I'm sorry, if they would be interested in being recognized, and of course they did it. And so they're owners at Fancy Gap Dress Shop. So I asked her if she could give me a little bit of a history, and she prepared me something, and I'm just going to read it as she prepared it. Ken and Lucille Iroller purchased the store from Wortha in 1970. The store did not yet have a name. In order to be listed in the phone book, it had to have a name, and Lucille came up with Fancy Gap Dress Shop. But many just called it 10,000 Dresses because the store sign noted that there were more than 10,000 dresses inside. The first dresses were priced as low as $225, and as customers walked through the front door, there was a big barrel of buttons that were a penny each. Digging in the buttons was a great pastime for the kids while Mom shopped. One gentleman always tossed his spare change in with the buttons just to watch the kids' faces when they found money. Ken and Lucille's daughter and son-in-law, Bonnie and Dennis Hyatt, took over in 1992. The building burned by arson in 1995 and was declared a total loss. A new building was built in only 6 weeks at the same location. In order to have plenty of stock when it reopened, weekly trips to the factories continued as usual to purchase merchandise. The employees gathered in Dennis and Bonnie's basement for work as usual and priced merchandise. Most of the employees through the years have been family and friends. And this December, they will celebrate 52 years of business, and we feel very fortunate and blessed to still be serving the area, Dennis and Bonnie. I'll ask Dennis and Bonnie to come up and I'll present them with a certificate. It says 52 years, but it seems like I can remember it as long as I can remember. So, and it's just a certificate of recognition presented to Fancy Gap Dress Shop on behalf of the Carroll County Board of Supervisors and the citizens of the county. Thank you all so much. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Mr. McCraw, and thank you, Fancy Get Dress Shop, for your continued support for our community. We greatly appreciate that. And next month, I think I've been trying to come down the line, but I think I'm going to jump Joey, and I'm going to do one in October, and then November we'll get Joey to do one, and then Rex, would you mind doing one in October as well? We didn't get one that month.
Yep.
And then I think in just an early sneak peek to how my mind's been working, I'd like to in November, if we got any veterans to come, and we'll recognize them during the month of November that we want to come. So, next is District 3 update, Ms. Powers. Thank you so much for coming.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
I appreciate the opportunity to be able to speak to the board this evening. District 3, if you didn't already know, we provide a wide array of services to assist the elderly, their caregivers, and we also provide public transportation services. We work to support the local governments and develop and maintain livable communities for all citizens. And I brought, the slideshow just to kind of go through. I'll try to go through it and save everybody time as much as I can. But this kind of gives you an overlay of what services that we do provide. Some people don't know all of the services that we have. And so this kind of gives everybody a running look at what we do offer. Of course, we're the Area Agency on Aging. There are 25 area agencies on aging through the state of Virginia. We serve the 3rd District. And we also offer rural public transportation. And you'll see down some of the line that we also do one area of urbanized public transportation. So that's through FTA instead of DRPT. We are owned and operated by local government, so one of you always usually sits on our board of supervisors, and we are joint exercise of powers. That's how we're set up. We serve the counties of Bland, Carroll, Grayson, Smith, Washington, and Witt, and also the cities and towns of Bristol, Galax, Abingdon, Marion, and Whittle. Our mission is to meet the critical needs and enhance the quality of life for the elderly, disabled, and transportation-dependent residents of our service area. We have about 140 usually on staff employees. We have a central office that's in Marion, but we also have field offices that are located in Abingdon, Whittle, and Galax. Our funding, and of course you guys know how it is with COVID, we usually range somewhere in the $6 million range with COVID, with Families First, with CARES, with ARPA, those funds. It's been up towards like $9 million recently, but overall, typically it's in the $6 million range. 50% of that coming from federal funders, 25% from state, 15% from local, and then 10% contracted. And these are some of our services for seniors. We have a volunteers in motion program. That's been, of course, a little bit slower due to COVID, but we have a lot of volunteers who serve at our congregate nutrition sites or provide checking services. Checking services are meant for those who are more isolated, can't get out. So we have volunteers that call in and check on these seniors in their homes and just to make sure that we have some kind of regular contact with those folks. We have a job training and community service employment program. We have about 15 people on there each year. It varies from year to year, but this is to help anybody that's age 55 and older train for a job. So we'll actually get them in, link them up with a community service organization, and get them hours trained and pay them for that job training. We have services for active seniors. We have congregate nutrition sites, and friendship cafes is what we typically refer to them as. We have about 15 sites around the service area. We usually do about 22,000 meals on average per year at those sites. These are the hot meals. So these are the ones where they go to the senior center, they meet, they do health promotion activities, they may get their flu shots, they may do bingo, they may have exercise programs while they have their hot meal as well. Then we have services for people with more specific needs. Somebody may call in and not know where to go to get a rent bill, may not know where to call in to get a utility bill paid. So we have information and assistance programs that help link them with with us, like the programs that we offer, but also anything else within the community that might be able to help them to meet a need. Our Chore and minor home repair program, you can see we repair about 250 homes each year on average, and that can be anything. We don't do like major home repairs, but we do ramps, grab bars, any kind of assistive devices, things like that to help a senior live in their own home as long as they can. We do emergency financial assistance, so if somebody needs help to buy fuel, to buy oil during the winter time, to buy medicine, to buy food, anything that's critical, we have a pot of money that helps with that for seniors. Support groups for family caregivers. We have groups that meet all throughout the area, usually in the evening, so that way somebody can get there and attend the group meetings. But that way, it's usually like Alzheimer's support is what is typical that we see. Disability services, we have one of the state's largest public guardianship program. We have about 130 individuals on that program. These are folks that are declared incapacitated by the court system, so they can be anywhere from age 18 on up, and they aren't able to make decisions on their own. So we have workers who come in and basically help them maintain life to the best ability. Money management program. We work with the Veterans Fiduciary, the Veterans Administration, and the Social Security Administration to be representative payees for folks. Some people can live out in the community, but they can't manage their money, can't pay their bills, can't do those sorts of things. So Social Security or Veterans Affairs will come to us and ask us to help, and we help to pay those and make sure that they have spending money and their bills get paid. We have an ombudsman program. The ombudsman resolves complaints in institutional or in-home care settings. So advocates for residents' rights, works to do elder abuse prevention, education. This is someone that's like the advocate between the family member, let's say, and the nursing facility. If there's any problems with that, then the ombudsman comes in and can help resolve those issues for the client and the resident. In-home services, we have homemaker services. These folks will come in and do light housekeeping. They'll make beds, they'll vacuum, they'll even go and do prescription pickup, food pickup, medication pickup, things like that, to relieve some of that burden. And then respite services, we usually contract that out. These are for family members who provide 24/7 care, and we contract with a group that comes in and helps the caregiver be able to get out of the house and let that family member have a little bit of time on their own. We have care management programs. These are a care manager usually comes out and works initially with the person one-on-one at first. They go in and they do a home visit and gauge what the person at home needs, whether they may need chore, whether they may need meals. If they need meals, we do the home delivered meals. We do either frozen meals or shelf stable meals. Frozen meals, of course, being delivered frozen or shelf stable. It can be either one, delivered once every 2 weeks, and depending on the person and what they need, they're in 5 packs or 10 packs of meals. And then we talked about the friendly calls. That's the where they'll call those who are most isolated and help just to remain in contact. A big thing that we do is the Farm Fresh for Seniors. We do have the largest program in the state of Virginia, and it works in conjunction with the Department of Agriculture, and so that the farmers who sell local produce can sign up, and then we have seniors that call us to sign up, and we serve about 4,000 folks annually through that program to help them get fresh fruits and vegetables during the farm season. There's another seasonal program there called Senior Cool Care, where we're able to provide fans and air conditioners for those who are in need. And they actually extended that. We were able to get more air conditioners and fans this year than we normally get. So that was a bigger program this year than normal. Aging and wellness programs. We have group sessions to help people who deal with chronic conditions. That could be diabetes, high blood pressure. We have a falls prevention program, which helps teach folks how to assist with balance issues, and then any other group issues related to chronic pain. We have a lot of people take us up on this Medicare education. A lot of people don't know exactly what to do with Medicare Part D when that rolls around and you have to sign up. So we have counselors on staff that will help you to get the right program for you based on what medicines that someone takes. So all they have to do is come in and talk to a counselor. And then VICAP, the Virginia Insurance Counseling Program, so that way everybody can get the best plan based on the medicines that they take, because there are so many and they change from year to year. The Benefits Enrollment Center, we were actually awarded the first Benefits Enrollment Center in the state of Virginia. It's funded through the National Council on Aging, and it assists seniors and disabled with applications for federal, state, local public benefits and renewals. And this has become a hot topic for us, especially recently, because mainly I tell everybody that it's more like one-stop shopping. Instead of having to go to District 3 and sign up for some programs, or social services and sign up for some programs, or, all across and sign up, you can come to us, talk to one of our counselors, and we'll get you signed up for any of the, whether it be Medicaid, whether it be housing, whether it be anything, all in one place. You do that one time, so you're not having to go through there and give your information out 20 different times to 20 different people. We were asked actually by NCOA, Debbie Spencer there on my left. Debbie Spencer had been asked to do a lot of presentations recently because of the Inflation Reduction Act, and I know that that's been a hot topic. Tim Payne was in the area not too long ago over in Galax and was talking about it, and Debbie had went and spoke at that. We've been asked by NCOA, and we've done a lot of media outreach with them, and through actually national and international news organizations. So we've actually done like a interview with Mark Roper at ABC Baltimore station, because everybody's dealing with inflation and cost of living and how it can't keep up, and how seniors are struggling to decide whether they want to eat, pay utility bills, pay for medicines, what they can do. So we've worked with them. We've worked with the CNN correspondent, Gabe Cohen, and we had done a segment that helped him about how inflation rates have sent healthcare costs rising. We've done a couple of media interviews through local stations, through WCYB. And then I mentioned that Debbie did the roundtable discussion with Senator Tim Payne to discuss that Inflation Reduction Act. And then we're waiting on two more segments to still process. One is with a correspondent from the BBC News who reached out to collaborate on a segment regarding the Inflation Reduction Act, and then we had a journalist contact us from the Wall Street Journal that we're going to try to work on another article for there. So that that's been a hot topic recently. So if you do know of anybody who doesn't know what they qualify for, just let us know because we can have one of our counselors get with them and then get them signed up for services. And I just threw in, oh gosh, it's hard to see, sorry. I just threw in just kind of an updated, and if I can get this to Crystal if I need to. But it's just a breakdown of the services that were provided last year to date, because our year's not technically over yet, for the seniors in Carroll County. And then, of course, the public transit. I'll go through this one pretty quick, but we have one of the largest rural public transit systems in Virginia. We have about 45 vehicles. We log about 580,000 miles and schedule about 170,000 trips every year. And then transportation can be to commercial centers, it could be rides to senior centers, or we can do individualized medical transportation trips. And that just gives you an idea of the operations that we have throughout our area. And then, and I can get this to you guys if you want this. This is a breakdown of kind of the information from our brochure, how to go about scheduling the rides, when the rides take place, and where at in the areas of the county, so that way everybody can know what days. And just kind of hit some service highlights there on your boardings in Carroll County through the year, the service hours, and the miles logged. And I wanted to point out that right now, transportation on our buses is fare free until at least September 30th, 2023. So anybody can ride our bus right now for free. You don't have to pay a fee to get on. And that's it. I just wanted to thank everybody and appreciate, of course, Carroll County's continued support of our agency, because we wouldn't be able to do what we do without the match that you guys give us and the support that you all give us for all the services that we provide. And we look forward to working with you guys in the future and helping to the residents in Carroll County. And if anybody has any questions for me, I'll be glad to try to answer.
I got just a couple.
Sure.
On the guardianships, are they split up through each county, or what? And is each county allotted so many?
Yeah, like they don't really allot a number per county. What we get is like we have a panel, is how it usually works. So we have a panel that someone from maybe social services over here will come to our panel, and somebody from Smith County, all over. And they rank them. They say this is the person that's in most critical need. This person is not going to have a home. This person is not going to have, and so they rank them that way. And that's how they move up on the waiting list. We're actually getting ready to have more too on that list. The state put more funding into that this coming year, so there should be more.
And the homemaker services and like your cooling assistance, does DSS help you with any of that, or is that something entirely you all do?
We do our part. Now, we will call them, like if there's a bill that's like $500 and we can only do $300, then we'll call social services and say, hey, we're working with Jane Doe. We can do 300. Can you do 200? Just to kind of help match funds.
And last statement, I'd love to see us get this, if it's not, this transit schedule on our county website, if we could do that.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else have anything else? Thank you for coming, Ms.
Thank
Byron.
you.
I see that you sent us in a board meeting Thursday night.
Thursday night.
Bristol racing. Now, that should be interesting.
That, and apparently there's a town and country barbecue with the Chamber of Commerce there. We totally messed this month up.
I hear you. Safe travels. I'll see you Thursday
Thank
night.
you so much. Thank you all.
All right. Moving on the agenda is the public hearing for the motor vehicle ICP. I'll open the public hearing at 6:39. Nobody? All right. You want to speak on it? There's nobody else?
I'd be happy to, Mr. Chairman. As the board's aware, typically license fees are collected in advance of the year in which the license applies. But due to inflation and the unprecedented market with regard to used cars mostly, but automobiles generally, the county was looking for ways to give some of the increase tax money back to the citizens. And at the last meeting, the board adopted as an emergency measure, an emergency ordinance, an amendment to the county's license fee legislation that would basically amount to a 1-year pause in the collection of the license fee, the $25 license fee. Rather than collected in advance, the way it's been done for many years, it would be collected beginning this year with the 2023 license year. It would be collected on December 5th, 2023, instead of December 5th, 2022, basically giving each owner of a vehicle 1 year when that license fee would not be paid. So there'd be no license fee collected in December of 2022. That was adopted as an emergency measure at the last meeting. The ordinance has now been advertised. The ordinance you see before you is essentially the same with just instead of being an emergency measure, it is a permanent measure. The key difference is the last whereas clause that explains that whereas the board has taken emergency action at its regular meeting of August 8th, 2022, in order to avoid undue delay in the assessment and enforcement of local taxes, and now having duly advertised the matter in accordance with Virginia Code Section 15.2-1427F, the board wishes to take further action to keep the aforementioned emergency legislation in full force and effect. And the remainder of what you have before you is just as I've described. You'd be changing the collection date for the license fee for 2023, and then for every December thereafter, you'd be collecting the license fee for that year. And if you have any further questions, of course, I'm happy to address it.
Does anybody have any questions? All right, I'll close the public hearing at 6:41 and entertain a motion to adopt this.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we adopt the motor vehicle license fee ordinance.
Okay, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next on the agenda, citizens' time. All right, Mr. Noble.
Distinguished gentlemen, good evening. My name is John Nobili. Carroll County has never had zoning from our founding in 1842 to present day. We see no need for change. The citizens of Carroll County do not want zoning. It is our land that we bought and paid for and pay taxes on. We want to be able to use it freely without limitation. We want to protect the surrounding landowner while not restricting our land. Why does the county only want to zone a small area of the county? Is that fair? Zoning must be fair and do not discriminate against or penalize people. What good for the goose is good for the gander. That's a good old saying that is still work. What do I need? Why do I need someone to tell me what I can and cannot do with my property? What gives the county the right to tell me what I can or I can do? I have owned my property for 50 years, over 50 years, and I have done fine without county zoning. Why is zoning good for me now? Why does the county want to do zoning? Because of Acadia? That's the wrong reason. Acadia is controlled by the state of Virginia, not by the Carroll County zoning law. Who is going to pay for administering the zoning law? Will zoning increase my taxes? Will I have to pay for additional permit? Enough of government regulation and control. Let the Carroll County voter decide about zoning law at this November election, put zoning on the ballot. Or the ordinance that the planning commission is putting together right now, which is the same thing as the zoning law. There's no difference. So, and if you don't mind, I'd like to say a word about Acadia. Acadia brings joy to this county. They pay taxes. They are building some places. They provide a needed service to this county. Let them be good. Let's be good neighbors to them. I joined 967 feet of boundary line with Acadia, and I hope they will be good neighbors and keep our community safe by finishing and complete the fences. They already built a portion of my fences, so stop fighting them so let me finish to complete my fences that I need very bad. Thank you so much. Any question?
Thank you.
Thank you.
John, thank you.
Mr. Dixon? Okay. Katie Green? I'll get back to you, Jim. Okay.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Katie Gwynn, and I live on Fireside Drive in Laurel Fork. It's a pleasure and an honor to be here tonight. I'd like to begin by presenting this book as a donation to the board and the county administrator's office called The Myths of Safe Pesticides. It says August 18th, well, it should be today's date. I thought you were going to be at the Planning Commission meeting. August 18th, 2022, to the Carroll County Board of Supervisors. This book is donated for your information and in gratitude for your dedicated and professional service to the citizens of our county. Best regards, Katie Gwynn. Next, I'd like to review the packet of information you were given on the public opinion poll and survey about aerial spraying. I'll be conducting this poll and survey for the next several months under my organization called Project Mountain Pride. I'm doing the poll at various and varied polling stations around the county. This is the sign I post in front of or in the building when I start. And this is the sign I put on my little table. And this is the photo I show to demonstrate the issue. This is a photo of a helicopter spraying crops. This is the fact sheet that I give to people if they say they don't know enough about it to comment. And this is the opinion and survey form that I offer to people if they want to be involved in the project. They can check for it, against it, can't decide, no comment. Then they can comment with their thoughts and feelings if they want. This is the cover of the book that I will compile and publish at the end of the poll and survey period. It's called Carroll County Speaks Out About Aerial Spraying. What is the gain? What is the risk? Every single one of the comments I receive during the polling period will be entered into this book by category, not by name, nor any identifying information about the participant. This book will be available to the public, and I'll send this book to y'all, local, state, and federal governmental bodies, and regulatory agencies. In the past, I found that a book like this is very useful in educating folks about the issue and helping people understand the other side, in creating dialogue and in healing the polarization that often happens when something really important is happening. And lastly, this is our Test Our Strength Poll Gold. And I have a goal of at least 2,000 poll forms by the end of the polling period. Ladies and gentlemen, I believe that aerial spraying issue is one of the most significant issues to face this county in a very long time. This is probably the most critical issue facing our agricultural community and our private citizens right now. In particular, there are two very large out-of-state companies buying and leasing our farmland and planting crops here, sometimes after clear-cutting a forest. They have enough money to outbid local farmers on the sale or lease of any property they want. May I continue? I don't have much more.
Yeah, finish it up, yeah.
And they are now advertising to buy and lease even more land in Carroll County. They plant their crops, and because they control so many acres, up to 22,000 acres in Carroll and surrounding counties, they find it easier to spray their crops by helicopter. The cost of this kind of spraying is prohibitive to our local family farmers, and they don't do it. These companies have a long record of environmental and human rights violation in this county and others, and in other states. They pay their fines as the cost of doing business and go on to violate over and over. This is according to VDOT's and Department of Environmental Quality. Sometimes violence and intimidation are used as tools against those persons who live in adjacent properties and object to their practices. It's next to impossible for local regulatory agencies to police every one of their operations in these thousands of acres because of a huge workload. For example, VDOT's, the Virginia Department of Agricultural Services, has 17 mountain counties to supervise, and the Regional Department of Environmental Quality has 13. Virginia law currently allows this aerial spraying with virtually no restrictions. The companies are not required to notify neighbors when they will be spraying, nor tell what is in the spray, nor caution people to remain inside while spraying. The individual counties cannot now legislate our will about this unique matter concerning us, and not concerning the folks in Richmond. Folks, we can't be fiddling while Rome burns. This county is our home. It's precious to us, and it's under serious threat. We must educate people about this disturbing issue, create meaningful dialogue, and bring justice to those who would harm us and our economy and environment. I hope this opinion poll and survey will be instrumental in achieving those goals. Thank you all for your time and attention to this critical matter.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Gwen? Ms. Gwen,
Oh, yes.
here.
Hi.
I greatly appreciate you keeping this matter in front of us. I think you're doing the Lord's work with this project that you're doing, and I know it's probably cost some money out of your pocket, right?
About $500 so far.
Okay, well, we may discuss trying to help with that a little bit.
Oh, that would be wonderful. Thank you.
Again, thank you for coming forward and keeping this on our front burner. I greatly appreciate it.
I appreciate that, sir. And I believe it's God's works too. I mean, He put this beautiful place together for us, and we're not to rend it asunder.
Oh.
Thank you.
And I got your letter for your request. I'll talk it over to the board and we'll get back with you on the answer to that, okay?
Okay, very good. Thank
Thank
you,
you.
sir.
Jim Dixon?
I just come to the meeting to see what's going on, and I am with John Nobley at government don't need any more regulating properties. Got the DEQ and EPA that takes care of most of that, and I'm just totally against zoning for Carroll County. I know in other counties that we've worked at before, zoning was in place and it always posed an extra problem and cost, and it didn't benefit anybody we could tell. So I'd like to go on record with John about being against zoning.
All right, thank you for coming. All right, next on the agenda is the approval of minutes for the August 8th and August 22nd board meeting. We can either break them down and do them separately or both. Mm-mm. No, just the three. Okay, all right.
Hello, my name is Jesse Wynn, and I live on Fireside Drive in Laurel Fork. I'm here tonight to talk about the aerial spraying of fungicides on our neighborhood for the past 2 years. The suffix "side" means killer. Its effect on bugs and birds is apparent at once, but it takes a little longer to notice it poisoning humans. The scientific community has done just that and has documented the effects on humans. When I was injured in a car auto crash, I had a head injury that compromised my endocrine system. Fungicides are endocrine disruptors and manifest in an array of degenerative diseases, which I just don't need. Fungicides can also do brain damage, and I already have enough problems with that since my accident. One of the other results of my injuries is damage to my lungs. I have a right to work on my own garden without having to inhale the harmful chemical fumes that are being sprayed on a neighboring field that will make it even harder for my lungs to function. In short, I don't want to be the poster child for aerial spraying of pesticides in Carroll County. I would like for the Board of Supervisors to enact an ordinance limiting the aerial spraying of fungicides and other toxic chemicals. I appreciate all that you do and would appreciate your attention to this serious issue. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else choose to speak that didn't sign up? All right. All right, we'll move on to the agenda for the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes August 8th, August 22nd together, and A and B, or separately, whatever the pleasure of the board.
Make a motion to approve A and B.
All right, have a motion to approve August 8th and August 22nd meeting minutes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any discussion? I'll start the vote. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, payments of invoices. I'll entertain a motion to approve the payments of invoices as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve payments of invoices.
Have a motion to have a second.
Second.
Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next, under new business, the school additional appropriation. I'll ask Justin to speak on that.
So what we have here is additional appropriation request for the school board, where we approve their budget the same way we hire at the beginning of the year additions. We have to do the same for them that we do for us. These are all additional grants that the school board has received, and they are 100% offset by revenue, so it's 100% revenue and expenses associated with it. Some of the items are for a health force grant. This is for a grant they received this year for retention of school nurses and for some of their education, their training, as well as stipend for them. There's also a JVG grant, and what that does is that provides on-job training for the kids that attend the reading alternative centers to get them ready when they graduate from any trade and everything like that. And there's also ARPA bonus payment on there for stipend for 1,000 for all the SOU funded positions. And then there are the school resource officer and school security officer grants that were awarded to the
Does anybody have any questions on that?
And these are 100% grant funded, you said, correct?
I'll entertain a motion to approve the school additional appropriation.
So moved.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right, a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Here now, I'll start the vote. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Durbin, does he need to read a statement before voting on that school appropriation?
If there is, if it is applicable, it can be stated now, or a statement can be filed within the next
Okay.
following day.
Do you want to do that now, Mr. Collins, or following day?
Yeah, give me just a second.
Okay. I apologize.
No, it's okay. I thought about that time too. All right, here we go. Today's discussion involves the county budget. This discussion may include funding for the Carroll County School Board. As many of you know, I have a position of employment with Carroll County School Board with regard to the proposed funding of the school board. The proposed funding would affect the entire school system generally and not myself individually, and as a consequence, I'm a member of the group of 3 or more individuals who are employed with the Carroll County School Board and similarly affected by the decision on the proposed funding. Therefore, in this situation, the exception to the Virginia State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act, VA Virginia Code Section 2.2-3112B1 applies to this situation. In compliance with that section, I hereby declare that I'm able to participate in this discussion, voting on this topic fairly, objectively, and in the public interest. And I would vote yes.
Okay. So your vote is yes?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next is the SRO appropriation. I entertain a motion to approve the appropriation.
Tracy, let me go ahead and read a statement on that one also, please.
Okay.
As many of you also are aware, I serve as an unpaid volunteer position with Carroll County Sheriff's Department. Because I receive no compensation from the Sheriff's Department, the Virginia State and Local Government Conflict of Interest Act does not apply. I want to assure the public that I can participate in consideration of this matter fairly, objectively, and in the public interest.
Okay. I'll entertain a motion to approve this appropriation.
I'd like to make a motion to amend it to approve the $138,000
To move it, amend it from $238,000 to $138,000.
and $46. Yes.
All right. Have a motion for $138,036. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion?
I've got a question. Shows the salary's 84,000, but on the previous one, you've got, they did for the school board, it was what? 90, let me look, hang on a second. Totals don't add up for some reason. Oh, they got the expenditures for, from the sheriff's department, supposed to be 84,000. But it's listed on the other one is 86,000.
In the original one, due to the time of when the materials were submitted, is when they had first submitted for the grant, they didn't include their submission to the office as an example of how to put in for it. And in doing that, they left out a lot of the fringe benefits like DRS and all those things. So they at the meeting tomorrow, their board, they'll appropriate the rest of the money, and then they'll ask us for the same thing next round. But they have been approved for the full funding for those officers for.
Are there any other questions?
I have a question for Mr. Dixon. Your motion was 138.46. Is that right?
Yes,
Taking 100,000
Taking-
off of.
For the vehicles.
100,000 for the vehicle.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Till we determine what we're gonna do there.
You good?
Yeah.
All right.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, if we reduce that amount, is that gonna stop them from putting an SRO in each of the schools?
No,
we have
it's
anybody-
just taking the vehicles off till we can, meet with them about purchasing vehicles. Or using vehicles they have or something. It's just taking the 100,000 that they had asked for the vehicles off.
And that's the part from the county, not
Yeah.
part of the grant.
Yes. That answer your question, Mr. Collins?
Yeah, as long as it's not gonna stop them from putting
No,
SROs in every school.
No, sir. All right, any further questions? I'll start the vote with Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next, the second quarter appropriations. I'll entertain a motion to approve the second quarter appropriations.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the second quarter appropriations.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right, next is the PPTRA resolution. We've been presented. I entertain a motion to approve that.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the PPTRA.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Are there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCall,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Okay, next on the agenda is under new business of Law Enforcement Rescue Squad. I'll entertain a motion to vote on this is the building, correct? Mr. Watson?
Would give the authority to the county administrator to sign the deed
Okay,
and also accept any assets that are
okay,
being transferred over. And it's just miscellaneous things within the building.
okay. All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make that motion.
All right, have a motion, have a second.
Second.
All right, motion and second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next on the agenda is the consent calendar. I'll entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar as presented.
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion we approve the consent calendar as presented.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Early.
Well, I have a question. It has the surplus vehicle from Hillsville Fire Department on this,
Oh, that's true. I
Just-
forgot that was
to surplus it. And
I will amend my motion to remove that vehicle from the.
Okay,
I'm sorry, you've already started the voting.
all right.
We
We vote through and then amend it.
I think the way to address it would be to approve it, and then if someone votes no, someone who votes in the affirmative can then make a motion to reconsider and adopt an amended motion to replace that motion.
Okay. Mr. Early?
no,
I done forgot how I went on.
Me too.
Who voted?
well, you were to me. I don't know who voted before me.
I know, but I went out of order.
I voted Tracy.
I voted.
Okay.
Ronnie voted.
You vote?
I haven't voted yet.
All right, Mr. McCraw,
No, I mean yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And now I need to make a motion to amend.
Yes.
Is that what you said, Steve?
A motion to reconsider, and I would include a reconsider by replacing it with a substitute motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we reconsider the previous approval of the consent calendar to remove the Hillsville Volunteer Fire Department vehicle.
Okay. Have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Are there any discussion? All right, hearing none, I'll start the voting with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Next is the NRRWA bond resolution. I'll entertain a motion to approve this resolution.
I so move.
All right, have a motion to have a second. All right,
I'll second it.
all right, have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion?
Just a quick question. This is so that they can do the improvements at the New River Original.
It is. It's to expand the plant from 2 million to, from 4 million to 6 million, which 10% of it will be part of the PSA's part.
Okay.
All right, have a motion and a second. Are there any further discussion? I'll start voting Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. I'll entertain a motion for the additional appropriation to the rescue engine.
That concerns all the extra items that goes on these. I'm just asking that question.
Yes, sir.
What this would do is remove the extra. It would give me the ability to move forward with negotiating a final price and determine what percentage that the county would be able to pay.
All right. I'd like to make a motion that we allow the county administrator to move forward to finalize his contracts on the fire trucks and accessories.
All right. Have a motion. Do I have a second?
If I could clarify, your motion is not to appropriate the funds, but just to authorize the county administrator to move forward with
Yep.
with the negotiation of the contract.
That's correct.
Yes, sir. All right. Do I have that motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I'll second it, Mr. Chairman.
All right. Are there any discussion?
And this will allow us to move forward with actually ordering the vehicle.
All right. Any further discussion? Here now, I'll start voting Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Next on the agenda is old business and the splash pad update. I'll ask Mr. Watson to give us an update on that.
Okay, can you got us ready? I was going to throw a couple pictures up here, just to let you know what we're looking at. Currently, at the last board meeting, the board voted unanimously to go forward and with a splash pad proposal. We have been doing the research and looking at ways of procurement. We did we're able to find a contract that's is a cooperative procurement agreement in order to fall under. It's very similar to what the same thing we do in other processes as far as buying vehicles or fire trucks or anything like that. There's an agreement that's already been negotiated by another municipality or another organization, another group. So what we went through is went through the different procurement options, looked through the different companies that were out there, compared some different proposals. We also went and visited one. In the proposal, as you see on the screen, it shows pretty much an area of what you are looking at. This on the outside edge is a concrete area for walking, for sitting, those type things. And this is considered the wet area. Okay, the wet area itself is approximately 62 by 45 with an 8-foot barrier all the way around it for concrete. Okay. On the top right-hand side, you see there's a structure. This has the pumps. This has the filters, the control equipment. Outside has the chemicals. This is a recirculating one, so water will go in. It goes into a tank. It recirculates into the system. You purchase a system. It has to be hooked up to sewer, but eventually you will after it comes a certain time period. There will be testing done on these things, and chlorine and the other chemicals can be injected into it. There are also, by this, there's 2 activators. It means that it runs for a certain period of time. You hit the thing and it starts back up. The taller structures require a larger footer. This is all concrete. The surface that we believe the most beneficial would be a concrete surface with a stain and a sealer on it. The other option is they spray it with a rubber type material on it, which decays, and what it gets into the filtration system becomes a problem. When we visited one, they had some issues, some things they did in the past. After talking to the company, they've learned to adjust some of those things to make it a better workable facility as far as the way that you see. You had the high ones that spray the water. They had the opportunity to get a bucket drop, and then there's some ones that pour out the floor and the rings and all the other things go along with it. Here's just a kind of overview of it, the layout and a elevation on the top area, the different type of things that they have. Just to give you an idea of how it falls within this. So I think blocks 3 by 3, and that's what you're looking at here, about 3, 6, 9, 10 feet up, somewhere in that area. And as it says here, there's approximately almost 1,600 square foot of wet area and 1,647 square foot of the dry deck. Okay. To kind of give you an idea of where we're looking at putting it. Here's the entrance to the park. Here is the recreation building. Here's existing shelters that they have, the existing playground. This is part of a architectural drawing that we're working on in order to kind of get a layout of what we want to do in the future. As of right now, we're still looking at the direction. It's either going to be this way or this way, and we're looking at constructing a new bathroom facility, which is not included in this quote, and then looking at some renovations for the other. So approximately when you come into the park, you go to the left, and then you'll see it between the existing playground and the existing shelters. Also, we've had them draw out some additional parking in these areas. There's also a possibility in the future plans of maybe a shelter over in this area also, where it is now. Additional parking, more parking through here. So what I would request tonight is to allow us to move forward with the estimate we received. The estimate including the estimate didn't include fencing. We want to put fencing around the facility, do some drainage work in order to make sure that the water wasn't running off the road into this area. There's a lot of water that comes in between here. There's also some contingency built into it with the thought of requesting that we move forward with not to exceed amount at this time of $525,000.
All right. I'll entertain a motion to move forward with the splash pad if the board so desires.
I so move.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make that motion and I'll second it.
All right, I have a motion. I have a second. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
All right, I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion?
Does that take out 2 picnic areas or?
No,
No.
I think all the existing area is in there. There's 2 shelters there now, I believe.
Yeah, 4
Any other questions? All right. I'll start the vote. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Before we move on to board member comments, I would entertain a motion to revise the agenda to add committee appointments at this time.
I'll make that motion, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I have a motion to amend the agenda to have committee appointments at this time. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion on that? Here none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. Now I'll open the floor for any nominations to the committee appointments.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to nominate Sergeant Jason Newman and Sergeant Dennis Surratt to the Mount Rogers Alcohol Safety Council.
Can we do them both, Mr. Durbin, in one motion for that board, or do we need to?
You can.
I have a motion for Jason Newman and Sergeant Dennis Surratt for the Mount Rogers Alcohol Safety Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Are there any other committee appointments that the board chooses to fill tonight?
I'd like to nominate Joey Dixon for the New River Water Authority.
All right. Motion for Mr. Dixon for the New River Water Authority. Do I have a second?
Second.
Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Abstain.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
and I vote yes. Are there any other committee appointments the board would want to fill tonight?
I'd like to make a motion to put Karima Hernandez on the Whitfield Community College Board.
All right. I have a vote for Mr. Hernandez to be on the Whitfield Community College Board. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right. I have a motion and a second. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
and I vote yes. All right. At this time, I'll open it up for board member comments. I'll start with Mr. Collins.
Mr. Chairman, just to say thank you all for everybody who came out tonight, and I'm thankful to have this ability to be out of town and still be in the meeting.
All right. Thank you for joining us, and stay with us. I think we're going to entertain a motion to go back to closed session here in just a few minutes.
Okay.
Mr. Early?
I would like to first say thank you to everyone that made the county fair such a success. It was without a doubt the best I've seen in all the years that we've been doing it, and thank you to everybody. It took a lot of hard work and a lot of hours, and I know the citizens of Carroll County greatly appreciated it and look forward to it next year, I'm sure. On the issue of land use planning, the ordinance that we're talking about, I think there's a huge lack of understanding when it comes to land use, and that's going to be one of the obstacles that we have if we're ever going to protect the beauty of this county.
for as long as you live, we're not going to tell you what to do with your land. We're going to let you continue to use your land the exact way you've used it for the last 50-some years. We're not in the business of telling people what they can and can't do with their land. If you sell it, and
Let me ask you a question.
Mr. Nobley.
Nobly.
Mr. Nobley.
so education is important with any ordinance, and this one definitely it's going to be one of those things that we need to educate the public on. And it's not, we're not putting spot land use on certain places in the county. The entire county will have a plan for land use. 99% of the county will be agricultural, just like it is today. And nobody's going to tell you what to do with your land. I had some notes here about something else, but I can't find it. But anyway, I appreciate everybody coming out. And again, I failed to thank the county employees for the hard work they do. Crystal, Justin, Mike, and Steve, and everybody else that makes this meeting possible and makes it flow so smoothly. I thank you.
Mr. McCraw.
I'd like to reiterate the fact of appreciation to everybody that helped with the county fair. I heard nothing but good things about the county fair from citizens from here, and as well as citizens from other locations. It was a very great success, and it's something I hope we don't stop providing to the citizens. I'd like to thank everything that staff does for us and gets us our information and the work that they put forward. And I also like to remind everyone of September 23rd for our employee appreciation cookout. I know Crystal's put some work into that, and I hope everything's went well for her on that. And then we have a rain date of the 30th on that, if it was to rain, yeah. And I guess that's it. Thank you.
All right. Mr. Hill.
Yeah, I want to thank the county employees and just say they are the best. We got the best employees that there are out there. I also like us to look at the Woodlawn School, the gym area. We need some heat and air conditioning work. Maybe another air conditioner on top of that back section back there. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this. And we have some security issues with doors that probably need to be fixed. And I'd like to look at maybe a rotation, how we can replace the bleachers in there, to put portable bleachers. As time goes on, I don't think we should replace them all at once. At least we replace some of them and use the others to fix the other bleachers. That's all I got, Mr. Chairman.
All right, Mr. Dixon.
I don't have a whole lot. Just thanks for the county staff and employees for everything you do. I did what everybody said on the fair. It was a great fair. It seemed to me it went real smooth. We had tons of people there, tons of volunteers. I think everyone did come. Our employees did come and help, and our sponsors. I really enjoyed the fair. I know the kids did. One thing I would like for Mike to do though, direct, if you can, the office building that Sheila's in needs pressure washing, break out, and some cleaning up in the gutter. If you can, even if we need to subcontract that out, I'd like to see that done before it gets cold weather. That's all I have.
All right. I'll grant the floor back to you, Mr. Early.
I did find my notes, and there was one thing I meant to make a motion about, and that is to appropriate $500 towards the Mountain Pride project to help with the expense of that.
Is that something that can be done?
Can that be done now?
I'd have to get a better understanding of what the organization is, whether it qualifies for charitable other purposes that we can expend money for.
All right.
If we could table that till the next time, I can look at that.
Right.
That's fine. I'll withdraw my motion.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Earl? All right. I'll ditto what the board has said already about the fire. The employees and the people at the fire. The citizens for coming out, and without them, we wouldn't have a fire. I'll also extend appreciation not only to our county employees, but to our, which our sheriff's department is our employees too, and our EMS, but also our volunteers. Piper's Gap was there volunteering every night with EMS coverage, and I think Laurel helped cover while they were there at the football game and stuff. So it was a joint effort all out through the county to make sure our citizens were still taken care of. So I want to thank them for that. Also, I want to remind everybody in the public that the October meeting will be on October the 3rd, the first Monday of October, not the 2nd. And lastly, I know it's awful early, but I would ask if somebody on the board, ever since I became chair, I said I wasn't going to make a motion. And rather than going through the process of passing it to Mr. Early, I'll just keep it and ask if a board member would entertain a motion to direct Mr. Watson to advertise for a tax levy for 2023. And then the advertisement, have it for a public hearing next month. And I know we're at 64 cents right now. I'd like to see that where it be, advertise that, and then we can always go lower, but it can't be higher.
I'll make that motion.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, are there any discussion? I guess during discussion, I will add a little something else to it. And I know it's early, but I'd like to see it get advertised in October and passed hopefully in November. And to do that, I would ask possibly if each board member could set up a time during September to October 3rd and meet with Mike and Justin and get a feel of sort of where we can be. And I will definitely speak with each of the board members to just see what their thought process is on it moving forward and see if we can go ahead and get this ball rolling so we can get our budget process moving and hopefully help the citizens of the county. So with that being said, I have a motion and a second. I'll start the vote with Mr. Collins.
Well,
Yes.
Yeah, hold on, Mr. Collins.
what this really helps staff prepare the budget from what we determine the tax rate is going to be. So we'd be way ahead of the game. It helps the Commissioner of Revenue and the Treasurer's Office.
Yep. So.
All
right, Mr. Collins.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Early.
Yes.
Mr. Dixon.
Yes.
Mr. Hill.
Yes.
Mr. McCraw.
Yes.
And I vote yes. All right. County Administrator comments.
I don't have any at this time.
All right. County Attorney comment.
Just a few briefly, Mr. Chairman. First, with regard to the motion regarding adoption of the tax rate, if memory serves, I'll check on this for you, but if memory serves, the board is to adopt the tax rate in January.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know of any locality that's been that ahead of the ball and actually adopted it in January. It's usually, April or later when that finally gets done. So I applaud you for planning ahead. It may be that if you approve a tax rate, I'll ask you to adopt it again in January.
It'll be fine.
Just to clarify that. But I wanted to put that out there.
It'll be fine.
If memory serves, that's the process.
All right.
Also, at the last meeting, the board asked me to look into options regarding aerial spraying and to report back on that. I've looked into it, and to the extent that this is something that's permitted by state or federal regulation, it's likely that you are preempted, and the states occupy the field, and it's likely that you can't, for example, pass an ordinance that prohibits aerial spraying in Carroll County. If the state and federal government says it's allowed, we do not have the authority to countermand that. However, there may be some regulations that you can adopt that are consistent. You couldn't prohibit aerial spraying, but you could perhaps regulate not necessarily the aerial aspect of it, but just the fact that substances were flowing onto other people's property. That's regulating a trespass potentially, or a public nuisance. So there is some. If the board is interested in exploring that, we could potentially work up a proposed ordinance, and I'll cite two sections of the code for your consideration. First one is this wouldn't be an ordinance, but this would be something that is within the authority of the county if we determine there are facts that would support an action. And that's something I've referenced before in other contexts, but that's 15.2-900, abatement or removal of nuisances by localities and recovery of costs. And briefly, the code section provides that any locality may maintain an action to compel a responsible party to abate, raise, or remove a public nuisance. If the public nuisance presents an imminent or immediate threat to life, health, or property, then the locality may abate, raise, or remove such nuisance and may bring an action against the responsible party to recover the necessary costs incurred for the provision of public emergency services reasonably required to abate any such public nuisance. And the term nuisance includes, but it's not limited to, dangerous or unhealthy substances which have escaped, spilled, or been released, or which have been allowed to accumulate in or on any place, and all unsafe, dangerous, or unsanitary public and private buildings, walls, structures which constitute a menace to the health and safety of the occupants thereof or the public. And so arguably, in some circumstances, if it's not the aerial spraying that you'd be regulating or taking an action against, but in some circumstances, if we've got the evidence and can prove a case in court, you could potentially get a court order prohibiting the overspray, prohibiting the taking of actions which cause contamination onto other properties, and recover damages for that. So that's something that would have to be addressed on a case-by-case basis when there really was a something that we can prove that has migrated and caused damage to either public property or it was so general of nature that it's a threat to the public at large. Additionally, there's 15.2-1200, which provides that any county may adopt such measures as it deems expedient to secure and promote the health, safety, and general welfare of its inhabitants, which are not inconsistent with the general laws of the Commonwealth. That's sort of the catch, is anything you would adopt would have to be consistent with the laws of the Commonwealth. But if, for example, the laws of the Commonwealth provide that you can do aerial spraying, but you need to take care that it's under certain conditions, that the spraying's not migrating onto other people's properties, then arguably we'd be adopting something that's consistent with that. And such power shall include, but not limited to, the adoption of quarantine regulations. That's not really applicable, affecting both persons and animals. The adoption of necessary regulations to prevent the spread of contagious diseases, and the adoption of regulations for the prevention of the pollution of water, which is dangerous to the health or lives of persons residing in the county. So if there was a desire to take some legislative action, we'd really want to focus on the health, safety, and welfare, prevention of water pollution, things of that nature. But there is some ability. We can't necessarily regulate the aerial nature of it, but if it's done in a negligent manner, I think we could probably address that. And that's all that I have. Thank you.
Okay. This time I'll entertain a motion to enter back into closed session. Upon the board will convey a closed session for the discussion as authorized by Virginia Code Section 2.2-3711. We still need A1, A6, A29, and A7.
I thought that now that the discussion was to be a discussion of real property under A3.
Okay.
Concerning the acquisition or disposition of real property.
Okay.
Owned or to be acquired by the public body.
Okay.
And that's with regard to specific specific properties that are held in in the name of the public, and also under A8 regarding general legal advice, and that would be related to the land use.
Okay.
Could we include contracts and leases? Is that included in either of those?
Leases would be included in that already.
Yeah. All right. I'll entertain a motion to enter closed session under Virginia Section Code 2.2-3711, A3, A8. And
I think that was all.
A1. And A1.
A1 for personnel.
Yeah. All right. I'll entertain that motion.
I so move.
All right, have a motion to have a second.
Second.
All right. Are there any discussion? Hearing none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes.
And if I could just clarify, Mr. Chairman, the A1 discussion for personnel would be a continuation. You've already made a motion for closed
Yes.
session on that.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Is Mr. Collins with us?
Yeah.
Entertain a motion to come out of executive session back into open session.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
All right, have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, motion second. Any discussion? Hear none, I'll start the vote. Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
and I vote yes. And, at this time, I'd ask that each of you certify that we spoke only of what we went in to speak about, which was section 2.2-3711, A3, A8, and A1. Is that correct, Mr. Durbin?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, A3, A8, and A1.
All right, I'll entertain a motion for that.
I so move.
All right, have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All right, I'll start the certification with Mr. Early,
I so certify.
Mr. Collins,
I so certify.
Mr. McCraw,
I so certify.
Mr. Dixon,
I so certify.
Mr. Hill,
I so certify.
and I so certify. At this time, I'll entertain a motion for adjournment.
So moved.
All right, have a motion to have a second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? I'll start it, vote with Mr. Collins,
Yes.
Mr. McCraw,
Yes.
Mr. Early,
Yes.
Mr. Dixon,
Yes.
Mr. Hill,
Yes.
and I vote yes.